But before I do that, you might be thinking, oh crumbs, this is just far too high level, and that this is saving the world, and that it's nothing to do with the reality of business over the next few years. But let me tell you, for those of you who haven't already come across it, and I'm sure most of you have, that there are real market realities for business as it does business right now, which is being driven by this agenda. And this agenda is not going to go away, it's only going to get more intense. And this is, of course, being reflected in government policy, it's being reflected in regulation, it's being reflected in consumer purchasing choices and the expectations which are placed upon companies. So as a result, companies are under pressure to be far more responsible and far more transparent about their impact and about their behaviours in a way that's never been seen before. And the governments are introducing this policy and this regulation around low carbon. Of course, we have carbon is being taxed in many economic areas at the moment. There is a spot price for carbon. You can actually trade carbon, of course, and there are lots of different emission trading systems and the like. I'm just using carbon as one proxy, but of course there's an ever-increasing cost on waste. There is a move to quantify water and to put a value on biosystems and other ecological and natural resources, and to bring this into the bottom line accounting of companies. Now, probably carbon is the only one that's got close to that at the moment, but this is the direction that it's going to go. And over the next 10 years, this will only become more important. And then customers and retailers are increasingly putting requirements upon providers to have sustainability credentials in their products and services. And if suppliers can't match those credentials, they simply won't get on the shelf. And I think this trend is very much more alive the further west you go in Europe. I truly don't know what the situation is here. But I do know that in the UK, that if companies who want to trade with our big supermarkets can't demonstrate their sustainability credentials in terms of their carbon miles, their food miles, the ethical supply chain, that they really are managing these things, they simply won't get on the shelf. It is as simple as that. So for those companies who are looking more internationally to develop their products and services, then this is going to be a critical part of your ability to trade in these things. And in governments, 40% of the EU's GDP is involved in national procurement by national governments within the EU. And they're all putting sustainability credentials into their procurement policies. And if you can't match it, so if you want to sell into the National Health Service, or if you want to sell into the buildings or into the educational establishments, if you can't match those sustainability credentials, you won't be the chosen provider. So there is a real simple market reality here that says if you can't do these things, then increasingly you won't have access to the markets that you would otherwise hope for. And consumers, of course, are increasingly saying that it's important that we have cleaner, safer, better, more ethically produced goods and services. And they are willing to vote with their wallets when they go along the supermarket shelves and say, if I don't like what I see there, I won't buy it. And we've all seen the boycotts around some of the higher profile issues around sweatshop labour or environmental problems. And if people don't like what they see in a brand because of what it represents, then they simply won't choose it. So even businesses, if you don't think that the longer term is relevant and that the sustainability agenda is nothing to do with me right now, the market realities are such that it is a reality for you. So, and how you address that and how you integrate it into your thinking, into your strategy, and how you use sustainability as a driver for operational efficiency, then these are the sorts of considerations that you really do need to start thinking about and taking into account. And now, the good news is that if you do these things, then there is a really good positive business payback as well. So, and I know this from my own experience within Shell, that one of the key attractors for new graduates and for employees is whether a company's values, its moral compass, if you like, aligns with their own personal values and expectations. And if it does, then they're more likely to want to work for that company. So attracting and retaining top talent is a key business reason for adopting this agenda. And of course, people are more likely to want to continue to work with companies if they believe that they're being treated well and that the behaviour of the company is in line with their expectations. And survey after survey after survey shows that often the number one requirement that a new graduate would look for is how much money am I going to get? But the second one is always how sustainable are you? How genuine are you in terms of upholding the values which are going to address some of these issues that I'm concerned about? And then the next one, all businesses want to reduce costs. And if you start to look at sustainability in ways which opens your eyes to your environmental impacts, then eco-efficiency, doing more with less water, less energy, less materials, less whatever it is, will save money. So there is a really good connection to the business case. It'll help you reduce risk, and all businesses want to reduce risk, because if you better understand the expectations placed upon you as a business, then you're more likely to meet expectations and not to have problems. It takes risk out of the system. And of course, if you are producing goods and services that people want because of their expectation for cleaner, safer, better, more responsibly produce goods and services, then they're more likely to buy from you. So there's another very, very good reason. And I can go on. It enhances your brand, it allows you to evolve your portfolio, and it critically gives you a license to operate and a license to grow. And this isn't just for extractive industries like Shell or for metal or mining companies, although it stares you in the face when you're that sort of company. But it's quite relevant to service companies, to banks, to insurance companies, to everybody else. So the complex challenge then that leaders need to face are translating sustainability into strategy of their companies. And the LvBS response project for Lodger, which you'll be very well aware of, demonstrated that those companies that put sustainability at the heart of their strategy were the ones that actually were most successful. And so this is not just theory, this is genuinely practical. And that there is those that take it seriously, not just greenwash or PR, but really see these wider drivers in the world as being fundamental to their strategy, then they're the ones that are going to be more successful. So you've got to translate sustainability into strategy, and then to develop the leader as a whole person and the culture of your organization, to adopt this as a natural way of thinking. But the leaders also got to drive complex or drive results within these complex systems type of solutions, whilst at the same time growing business and societal value, because that's the expectation placed upon them. So that's a tall order for leaders these days. It's not just thinking purely about the shareholder and maximizing profit at the expense of everything else. It's actually taking all of these multi-complex, multi-dimensional considerations into your decision making.